Oh, fuck, it really happened. The issue is abortion, and the question is, what are young lawmakers saying about the Supreme Court ruling on Roe v. Wade?
Revolution of the millennials.
Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right, are we ready, guys?
Happy Hour.
Happy hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Political Playlist Happy Hour. I'm Michael Kristoff.
I'm Anna Muskie-Goldwyn.
And I'm Anthony Barquette.
Wow, Michael, look at that drink.
Oh, yeah. It's a heavy drinking day.
I have a hemp-infused, adaptogenic, overpriced sparkling water to calm myself.
I have a overpriced, delicious martini that I made myself.
Okay, well, let's get into it. So we're recording this on Friday, the day that the Supreme Court ruling came out. I just want to say, I feel that at Political Playlist, we always want to approach things from a nonpartisan angle. We want to talk about things in terms of what everyone is doing and saying about it. But I think that what this moment has shown me is that there's a disconnect between what Americans feel in kind of a nonpartisan way and what our political system and now also our judicial system is reflecting. And what I have felt today is honestly just very disappointed in our system, because I think of all the primarily women, but also men whose lives are going to be affected by this. And I feel like I can't communicate how sad I feel for people who are less privileged than we are, who don't have the resources to get the help that they need, who will bring children into poverty, and those children will not have fulfilling lives. And I also think that the fact that this is being handed back to the states, which is, we'll talk about kind of the main Republican line of reasoning of why this is good. Our state political system is very, very fucked up, both on the Democratic side and the Republican side. So to say that state politics can handle this is a fallacy, in my opinion, on both sides of the aisle. You have California and the extreme left codifying Roe v. Wade, which people might personally agree with. But the fact that you can have that state sitting not that far from a state like Wyoming is crazy. And so I just wanted to say, as a woman, albeit a woman who would have access to an abortion if I needed it, I'm just really sad. I feel like this is setting a bad precedent for our country. And I know that through the work we do at Political Playlist, how much these policies affect people. And I have learned so much more through doing the work that we're doing. And I think that it can't be underestimated how hard this is going to be for the people in our country whose lives are already really hard.
Yeah, that's very well said. I think this is one of those issues that it's hard to not get personal about, and not, I feel like we make a big deal of, hey, we don't really take sides here. And I don't know that talking about how we particularly feel on this is necessarily taking a side, because we want to tell you what everyone's saying and what everyone's doing about it. But I think I'm still in the anger phase of the grief spectrum of holy fucking shit, how is this actually happening?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's sunk in, that the idea, everything you're saying is very true in the standpoint of this is going to negatively affect a lot of people.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I think you really said it clearly and, effectively as to where people are in. And I know how emotional this is for you to even be doing this video right now. And, we had a different topic of conversation that we were going to talk about. And I think we're all kind of living in oh, fuck, this literally happened. And I just really can't believe that it's happening. Michael's in the anger phase. I think Anna, you're in almost a devastated phase. I'm just so confused.
Yeah.
But this is my fourth drink today, so maybe that might be it too.
Wow. So. Well, this is my first. I think I need to catch up here. the video I'm sure that's, everyone has seen by now is the unofficial Dave Portnoy press conference.
Yeah.
And I feel like he sort of at least very much sums up for like the guy's perspective of like
Barstool Sports for.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that like that's a really good look. I will admit I'm not the biggest Dave Portnoy fan, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
But I found that video to be really interesting because I feel like when people want to come at and say, oh, there's too much opinion, we collectively, the three of us, are not holding ourselves to this nonpartisan angle. It's like nonpartisan is not necessarily just about which political party our representatives belong to. Nonpartisan is talking about political issues as they affect literal people. And I felt like Dave Portnoy, who has a very, I would say, like across the political spectrum, both fan base and people who hate him, I think for him to basically sum it up in kind of what I feel like you guys are really feeling, and I think a lot of men are feeling, is like the what the fuck. And I feel like the translation that I would offer, at least from my perspective as a woman, and I think people who have an even more intimate relationship with this issue would also feel, is just like an extreme disappointment in the fact that we can't all just understand like how hard this is going to be.
What do you think about because obviously there are a lot of women who are fierce, opponents of abortion. And one of the interesting things is that Josh Hawley's wife actually worked on the case that was fighting to overturn Roe v. Wade. Yeah,
she was one of the lawyers for Mississippi.
Right. What do you sort of make of their perspective on this?
I think that their perspective is valid. First of all, I am anti-abortion. No one wants to get an abortion. You have to get an abortion. Like, that I think is the first thing. The second thing is I feel like women who are pro-life, Josh Hawley's wife, basically every Republican woman to one degree or another that we cover is celebrating this ruling. I feel like that argument is fine if you are just looking at it from a religious perspective. And in our country, you can be whatever religion you want to be, and you can live by those rules. But no one is telling you to be that religion or telling you to believe what you believe. And so I think that there's this real conflation of like, what is quote unquote in the Constitution, which by the way was written without women involved in the conversation or literally
minor detail
at all.
Right. Yeah.
And people are talking about like, oh, the Constitution is written by slave owners. Yeah, let's remember that. But also let's remember that, of course, there's nothing about what rights each gender has because that was not a consideration. So I think there's a disconnect between the constitutional like sort of adherence and the fact that all the people saying this is a win for life, you can be pro-life and still think that there are a lot of people who are pro-life and still think that women, especially in certain cases of medical need or rape and stuff like that, should have access to legal abortion.
Yeah. I think too, just like in moments like this, you end up seeing leaders emerge. I heard a story today from a close friend. Immediately after this happened, the CEO of their company and a couple hundred people work there wrote an email and said, hey, I just want to let everyone know I'm really sorry to see the news today. And if you or a family member is ever in the need of this, the company will pay.
Yeah.
But should we start reading some tweets?
Yeah. As a new mom, the fight to defend life has never been more important to me. I applaud the Supreme Court's historic ruling, which will save countless, all caps, innocent lives.
Easy.
Who's a new mom?
Elise Stefanik.
Oh,
okay. Duh. So obviously I'm like the worst at this game. This is not my strong suit. Yeah. I have a lot of strong suits. Okay. This is not one of them.
Here's mine. Gonna try not to weep during it. I've never believed the Roe v. Wade decision, which was ultimately a personal privacy case, was a justification to take a human life. The unborn deserve protection. Now, it's a tough one, but I'm going to give you a clue.
Okay.
Oh, I think I know who this is.
I love this person.
Because it's Kat Kamak.
No, kind of a nerd.
A woman?
Dusty Johnson?
Yeah. Michael.
All right.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. Abortion for any reason up until birth is extreme, and the vast majority of Americans don't support it. 75% of Americans support some limitations. Even in socialist Europe, they have more limits on abortion than the US. That's saying something about the extreme left.
It feels like a Jim Banks or a...
Was it Jim Banks?
No.
I'm going to go with my guy again, August Pfluger.
No, guys.
Ooh.
It's Nancy Mace.
Oh, Nance.
So Nancy is a survivor of rape and has come out publicly before saying that she thinks there should be legal abortion for people who are raped or victims of incest. And what I found really interesting about this tweet that she sent out is that the way she's kind of twisted the stats, because Michael, I actually don't know that the stat is wrong, but the way that it's twisted makes it sound like 75% of Americans believe that abortion should be illegal.
Right.
But what she's saying is that 75% of Americans support some limitations.
I don't understand. It seems like the Republican Party continues to be the party of no, and yet brands themselves as the Freedom Caucus, right? This idea that they're so, all about freedom and choice and states' rights. Don't, decentralize the government.
All right. Well, that leads into mine.
Yeah.
As one of the few women of reproductive age in Congress, this attempt to strip people of their bodily autonomy is personal.
Sarah Jacobs.
Yeah.
Wait,
Michael.
I had a Sarah Jacobs one. She was on my list.
Michael.
Anthony,
Michael.
Did you? Wait.
Michael's crushing it.
Thank
Anthony,
you.
You did my list.
Wait, no, I didn't.
I have a Sarah Jacobs one that I want to read.
Oh, actually, yeah. Okay.
You did my list. Okay, since Anthony stole my thunder and did Sarah Jacobs, I am going to also do Sarah Jacobs. So you don't even have to guess. You just have to listen to me. But Sarah Jacobs said something that I think is a sentiment that a lot of people, including myself, feel, which is she said, I'm so angry that I'm going to have less rights than my mother and my grandmother, and that my children might have even less. That struck me personally, because I remember a little bit of a personal story. So my mom was a college athlete in the early 70s, which was right after Title IX was passed. And she would tell me all these stories about how she was a rower, and I was a rower in high school and college as well. And she would tell me all these stories about how they would have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because they'd have to practice by 5 a.m. so that the boys could practice at 7 a.m. And they didn't have locker rooms for them because there weren't any women's facilities. So they would have to get changed in the middle of the boathouse, and there would be men watching them. And the boathouse wouldn't be heated by the time they were there, and they were in Boston. So she would tell me all these stories about basically Title IX, and how even though Title IX had been passed, it wasn't really implemented yet. And then I think about my college athletic experience and how we had the best of the best there. I never noticed any difference between the facilities that we had compared to the men, the trainers that we had, the gear that we had, anything like that. And so Title IX was being implemented in the way that it should have been. Obviously, there are still inequalities, but just in that sense. And so when I read this quote, I just thought, I have had those conversations and those experiences with my mom about a different issue of gender. And I feel like this is bigger than women's sports. This is people's physical health. And when Sarah added this thing in that quote where she said that my children might have even less, it was holy shit, I want to have children. I hope I never have to get an abortion. I know many people who have, and it's an incredibly traumatic experience, and none of them would wish that upon anyone else. And And I think that, to the idea that I could have daughters who would have less rights, and that conversation that my mom had with me, where I could feel like, wow, look how far things have come in this arena that's really important to us collectively as family, that I would not be able to have my daughter feel that same way about this issue is just really so fucked up.
And I love personal stories always. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think this is also a good thing for anyone who's listening, is to talk to the other generations about this, because it has been a generational issue. You've inspired me to check in with my grandma just to get her take on what she believes is happening and how she's looked at it and how it was back in her time as well. And I hope people who are listening will do the same, because it's a great time to talk to others and hear feedback.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, not that we should be cheersing, but cheers. Oh my God.
I already finished mine.
Wow. Well, I think, we need to cheers to. Here's something to cheers to, I think, is that we're cheersing to the mission of Political Playlist, which is to inform yourself, to educate yourself. And regardless of how you feel on this issue, this is the clearest of indicators that elections do matter and elections do have consequences. So all the more reason to engage civically, whatever that looks like for you in your community. So
agreed.
Let's cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Boom.